Hi, welcome to Handicapping Your MBA Odds. I'm John Byrne with poetsandquants.com.
I'm Sandy Kreisberg from HBS Guru.
And today's candidate is a 27-year-old male from India. He is an engineer, although he's not using his engineering skills. He graduated in the top 10% of a quote-unquote not-so-great school in India, not IIT. And he is currently working for a minister in the government as a public policy consultant, although he is also managing a political campaign. And his goals are to get into a very good school. I mean, he's identified Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, and Yale. Sandy, what do you think?
I feel for this guy. I think this guy is an Indian guy who was forced into the Indian engineering education track. He didn't get into IIT. He got into what he called a mid-level Indian engineering school based on his GMAT scores, which are very high verbal and a little 71 quant. I don't think he's a natural engineer. I think he's a natural consultant. I think what he did was he got very good grades at that Indian school, even though it was against the grain, and then figured out that he wasn't going to be an engineer, and then he became an Indian political consultant. It's an ecosystem I can't say I'm an expert at, but elections are a big deal in India, and he seems to have established himself as a player within a political consultancy to a, do you recall the title of the guy he's working for?
No, he didn't actually give it to us.
Minister at one of the ministries in India.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's equivalent to a cabinet member in the United States or a state member. However, that will be important. His chances of getting into a top American school are going to turn on exactly this. Whether they think this guy is going to be a big deal in India. What he has to do is convince them that his political connections, his skills as a political consultant, and his experiences and contacts will position him as someone you're going to read about in 15 years as, 100 people of influence in India. If he can convince top schools that he is on that track, he's got a chance. But that's going to be a hard case to make, but that's what he's got to do.
Now, he is managing 20 full-time staffers and nearly 1,000 volunteers in this political campaign, which seems incredibly impressive to me. Has to count for something.
It's impressive to me, too. And the schools might buy that, and they might go, okay, you've convinced me. Here's one of these dirty little secrets. As a rule, if you went to the admissions officer of an elite business school and said, here's candidate 1 who's managed 1,000 people, and here's candidate 2 with a 780 GBAT who's managed nobody, just knowing that, which one do you want? What do you think they would say, John?
Yeah, probably not.
They would say, give me the 780. Anybody can manage 1,000 people. Getting a 780 is tough.
What about leadership? Aren't business schools supposed to be, really wanting people who can be leaders? And if he's managing 20 people and another 1,000 volunteers, that has to show that he has leadership ability.
Yeah, I don't doubt that he has leadership ability, but to get to your question, the degree is called a Master in Business Administration, MBA. It's not an MBL, okay? Master in Business Leadership. I'll leave it at that.
His extracurriculars actually are quite impressive as well. He actually started a nonprofit to educate underprivileged children, which is great. And he was captain of the state cricket team, which is a big deal in India and a big deal in a lot of other countries.
Well, cricket is a big deal in India. What captain of the state team means is something I don't know, and my guess is many adcoms don't know. So that's something he's going to have to make that case if it is a big deal. Starting the charity is good. It tightly wounds his story that he's going to be an impactful leader in India. And it will give schools a chance to admit an Indian non-engineer.
The other thing about him, of course, is his goal, which is to start a political consulting firm with an MBA. Does that play?
It might. He might also think about going to the Harvard Kennedy School, where boy, he'd meet a lot of consultants, and it's easier to get into, and I think that could do him well too.
Now, he didn't mention London or NCOD, but I'm just thinking he's playing cricket.
This guy's a natural INSEAD guy, and I think INSEAD would be a great place for him.
Okay,
and I think he'd get in easily.
Interesting. What are the odds for his target schools, Harvard?
If he can convince them that he's going to be an impactful Indian leader, I think his odds are in the 40 to 50% range.
Whoa, I think that's kind of high, even for you.
Okay.
For this candidate.
A lot depends on if he can convince them that he is an Indian political star. For one thing, an important thing for this guy is who writes his recommendations. If he can get recommendations written by powerful people in India,
And he said the minister would write a recommendation for him.
Well, once again, this is my own ignorance. I don't know if that's the equivalent of a state senator or the equivalent of a cabinet member.
Right. Either way, I think that's pretty good.
No, I used to work in the state senate.
You have my sympathy. Aren't you glad you're an admissions consultant now?
Getting a letter of recommendation from a state senator in North Dakota is not going to do you much unless it confirms other things about you.
Okay, Stanford.
Stanford wants to have as an alumnus the next one of the 100 most powerful guys in India. If he can convince them that he's that guy or he is going to be an Indian kingmaker, he's got some chances there, 30%.
Okay, Wharton?
Just based on selectivity, his chances of Wharton, given that the numbers are solid, would be 40%. The trouble with Wharton is he's not a sync with what they're interested in.
Yeah, he's not. He tried to be a quant, and he's really not a quant. And not only that, but finance isn't his thing at all.
Sure.
He would seem out of place at Wharton.
Well, he would seem in the non-finance track, which is probably larger than you think.
Yeah. And then Yale is his other school.
I think his chances at Yale are good.
All right. Sandy, thank you. That's a pretty good analysis for our political strategist from India. Good luck to you, and good luck to all the other candidates out there. If you have a profile that you would like Sandy to take a look at, send it to poetsandquants.com. Until then, happy application time.